Alright, welcome to the round one review. Scored 1953 this week, so isn't a great week. Isn't a great way to start off the year. Sorry. Yeah, it wasn't good at all. Probably on the lower end of the spectrum, if not pretty bang on average. Puts us at a ranking of 28,000. So lots of room for improvement. I think really what let me down is the decisions I made, especially in terms of fielding rookies and captaining Jack Steele. That also let me down slightly. So I think that I'll talk about it as we go through my team. But if we had taken McRae's score, we would have got an extra 13 points, which doesn't seem too much. But you add that on to the Rochelle 100 that I benched, another 40 points. So we would have got around another 53 points there, and we would have definitely cracked into the 2000s, which would have put us into a ranking of like I think top 10,000. So isn't too great. But yeah, ranked around the 28,000 mark. I think our goal by the end of next week, or yeah, by the end of next week, should be to push into the top 10,000. That'll probably be our goal, and then we can just build from there. But I think we just get into it. Team review. Defenders were horrible this week. Starting off with Jack Crisp. I think I watched this game. I watched at least half of it, and Jack Crisp was awful. He played that inside mid role that everyone was expecting him to play, but he just could not score. And I feel like with Dacos and Penderbury in the back line, they've sort of gone and snatched his role from him, forcing him to play inside mid, which should benefit him. But I feel like he's a much better player when he plays off that half back, because the midfield did not suit him. Sort of looked lost throughout that day, and yeah, he was just roaming around trying to get the ball, but it would never come to him. So either he's got to, learn how to play as a midfielder, or go back to that halfback role, because there's lots of concerns regarding Jack Crisp at the moment. And you could argue that players like Crisp, Steele, who haven't really been scoring. I know it's just 1 week of data, but if you are looking for a bit of a cash grab, it is a move to go Crisp down to someone and Steele down to someone, and then bring in two mid prices or premiums that you are keen on. So it is definitely something that is an option. Probably something I wouldn't recommend. I would always stick to holding your premiums, because you never know what can happen. Chris could get a 120 next week, given he plays the Adelaide Crows, and he could be all over the place, and then you'd be cursing yourself for trading him out. So my advice is to stick strong with your premiums. At the end of the day, Jack Crisp is going to be a top 6 defender, given whatever role he does play. That's what I believe. But if you are looking to trade out someone like Crisp or Jack Steele, someone that didn't really score too well, by all means, if you need a cash grab, go ahead and do it. But yeah, Jack Crisp was not great at all. Lockie Whitfield, same goes. I knew going into round one that Lockie Whitfield was a bit of a risky pick. Not because of the fact that he can't score, mainly because of the fact that he has terrible history against the Sydney Swans. So whenever he faces the Sydney Swans, he always scores less than 100 for some reason. I think it's one of his worst teams to face. So yeah, he's got some pretty poor history against the Swans, and a 69 isn't a great way to start the year. But he's top 6, so there's no point even touching him. He should make money throughout the year, and he's easily top 6. So don't go ahead trading out players like Lockie Whitfield. Jaden Short was also really poor. Had a really good preseason. It's particularly one of the reasons why we picked him up, because of that preseason, to be honest. But yeah, 68 isn't great. I think if you minus all the kickouts he took, he would have probably got like 20 odd, 30 odd. So he didn't really get many disposals apart from his kickouts, to be honest. So that is a bit of a concern, but I think we stick with him for a couple of weeks, see how he performs. He's got a really good run of games, just regarding defenders, so he should be fine. George Hewitt was impressive, 91. I like the looks of him. Yeah, he was really good playing that inside mid role, and he's a really good clearance player. Could probably work on his outside game a bit more. Although saying that, he did tackle and mark the ball. So I do like George Hewitt, and I think he should average 90 plus for the season, just based on how he looked on the weekend. Then James Sicily. He was another player that really impressed me. I think he was close to the highest scorer for the Hawks, if not the highest scorer. So he looked really good off half back. They love it in his hands, and he did take a couple kickouts, which is a good sign. And Heath Chapman, we tried to go a bit unique here. Didn't pay off at all. He ended up scoring less than McCartan in our emergency. So he was a failed option. Had a really good strong Amy and a practice game before coming into round one, so I thought he was a solid option. Sort of could play that halfback role, flanking maybe, but didn't seem to be his day, and I feel like we're gonna have to trade him this week. But I'll talk about my trades later on. McCartan was really good, 59. Great to have him as an emergency and back playing footy, obviously. I think he's one we field this week. Given he outscored Chapman, and I'm not sure what Chapman will produce for the rest of the week. So we'll probably look to downgrade Chapman to someone like Skinner, and then field McCartan this week. Sam DeConning, I think he had a knock, so that's probably the reasoning behind that low score. Not sure if he plays this week or not, but I think if he doesn't play this week, he should be back for next week, given that the Cats do select him. Not sure if he's really even in the best 22, so we'll have to wait and see. And then here's the big mistake going into the midfield that we made. We captained Jack Steele, which really cost us actually, it didn't cost us too much if you look at it. It was about 13 points in the end, so it wasn't too much, but those 13 points, change a couple thousand spots. So at the end of the year, it could come back to bite me, captaining Steele over McRae when McRae scored an easy 120, which we should have looped. So Jack Steele was fine. He's a great player, and I'm not going to look to trade him just for the cash. He's a player that has a high ceiling, can do tackling, can mark the ball, and he's a great disposal player. So he's someone that I'll look to keep for the entirety of the season. Same goes with Jack McRae. Those two are probably top 8, if not top 4 midfielders for the whole year. So, those two players would just be sitting on my team for the majority of the year, given that they don't get injured. And McRae was great. It was always good to see a 120. Great way to start off round 1. Matt Crouch, 83. And I know a lot of coaches aren't really happy with his 83. They wanted a bit more. But you got to understand, this guy's coming off an injury. He's playing limited minutes, so he did play about 65% time on ground, so relatively low time on ground for what he normally does get. So 83 is a solid score, given that he did play limited minutes. And, as he builds up his games and his scoring, his time on ground will increase, and he'll work all around, improving his tackles, going outside to receive more marks. He still managed to get 30 disposals with 65% time on ground, so you look at that and you see, given if he plays 85% or more in future games, he's going to rack up close to 40 disposals. So there is a lot of promise regarding Matt Crouch, and I think that he's one that you just wait on and see how he goes. And then Matt Rowell, 117, was really good, so yeah, not much to be said here. He looks like a totally different player from last season. Got the strapping off his shoulder and he's roaming freely. What I really liked about his game was that he did move around looking for a couple plus sixes, which was really promising signs. And yeah, I think Matt Rowell should average above 100 this season, if not a bit more. He's a great player. What a talent. We know that he is. Will Brodie, 77. I'm happy with that. Wanted a bit more maybe, but given he did play I think it was 60% time on ground, if around that mark, really low time on ground for what a player like his talent should be getting. So he's always been an unrated pick, at Gold Coast and now at Fremantle, I feel like. And for what he does, he deserves a bit more game time and a bit more recognition as well, because he's a great inside mid. Always has been, even at Gold Coast. So, I'm not too mad at Will Brodie, given that he did play that low time on ground. Same goes with Matt Crouch. Horn Francis was fine, 61. Kicked a goal, looked really good. He's locked in the North Melbourne team, so no need to worry about Horn Francis. Dacos, 102. Always great to see a rookie dash at a big score, and Dacos has gone and turned up in his first game, so he's going to make us a truckload of money, which is really good because we need cash, and he's going to be a great cash generator over the next couple of weeks. Could possibly be a top 6 defender by the end of the year. Who knows? The way he's looking we'll have to wait and see, and he will get that DPP status in round 6. So I like the looks of Nick Dacos. Ward, 41 isn't too great, to be honest. Although I think he did cop a bit of a knock, but that isn't an excuse for his poor score. So we'll have to wait and see on Josh Ward, whether or not he even plays this week. But yeah, I'm not too happy with that score from Ward. Cost us a bit, but I think everyone fielded him, so that's fine. Hoff, Mead, pretty standard, nothing special. Mead's probably the likely one to get dropped out of the two. I think Hoff holds his spot, just given West Coast stricken lineup. So I think Mead will probably hold, but there is a slight chance that he can get dropped. Gordon and Grundy, I don't really want to talk about it. Those two were awful. Didn't even crack 100, so that says something. Set and forget, didn't really go too well, especially when you had someone like Jack Hayes on the bench. So I think with Gordon and Grundy, they always start off the year pretty slowly and then get into it. So we don't really need to go trading out both of these players. Just give them some time to get into it, and they should be fine. But Jack Hayes, I think we'll give Jack Hayes up. +3 this week. Him along with Nick Martin were really impressive. 111 and 130. And Hayes in particular looked really good. I watched that game. He was everywhere, and I think it was the third or second quarter. I can't quite remember. He was marking, and I think there was a period where he scored like 3 consecutive marks, and then he scored a goal, and it was remarkable. Just what he was doing. So really promising player. I think if you guys are rocking with a Ruck and you want to rock with Jack Hayes, it is an option. Although keep in mind, he's not going to score more than 80 that often for the regular season. So just keep that in mind if you are looking to field someone like Jack Hayes. This 100 was probably a one-off. Who knows? He probably never does it again for the rest of the season. So it is something to keep in mind if you are considering rocking a premium and a rookie ruck. And then going into our forward line, Dunkley was great. Not much needs to be said. Canelio was alright. I wanted a bit more, but we'll take it. Let him work into the season, I guess. Butters was great, 96. I thought he scored 100, but I must be mistaken, 96. So we'll take that. Bit of a concern whether he plays this week. He had a head knock as well, so I'm not too sure whether or not he plays, but let's just hope for the best. Xeri, however you want to say it, he was average, nothing special. I don't know, but Xeri, I think we trade him this week. I think that he'll make a lot of money, but I feel like we need to get in someone else who I'll talk about later on. But I think we'll end up trading Xeri this week. Naish, 60. He scored he scored 48 points in the second half, so was on 12 at halftime and managed to get to 60. So credit where credit's due, Patrick Naish. Bounced back really well, and from a really bad first half, managed to get to 60, which is a respectable score. And then Nick Martin, we looped him with Jack Williams because I really liked the 130 sitting on the bench. So we brought in a player that didn't play just so we could get the 130, which in the long run isn't too great, but for the short term was pretty good. So I'm happy with Nick Martin's score, 130. Best on ground for Essendon in a losing side. So really good stuff from Nick Martin. Kane Baldwin was terrible. He's probably going to get dropped this week, so that's one less player, to be honest. And Rochelle was also really impressive. Kicked 5 goals, I think it was. So I'm really pissed that we fielded Naish instead of Rochelle. We lost around 40-odd points there, which really cost us a fair bit in terms of ranking-wise. As well as captaining Steele instead of McRae. So a couple of silly mistakes, like I said, that we made, but that's fine. As far as our trades go this week, I'm going to keep it pretty simple. We're going to use both our trades, and we're going to go Heath Chapman to Skinner and Jerry to Lipinski. I feel like Lipinski looked really good on the weekend. He was marking, he was tackling, reached 30-odd disposals and kicked a goal for Collingwood. So he looks like a mainstay in that Collingwood midfield at the moment. And Sam Skinner is one player that is likely to come in, especially with someone like Xavier Dersma going down early in that game. And I think there was another Port Adelaide defender that went down. So 2 defenders going down opens up opportunity for someone to enter the team. And Sam Skinner is probably a likely option. He did play in the preseason, so if he is selected, I think we just go and grab him straight away. And it allows us to get rid of Chapman and Xeri and bring in Lipinski as well. That does mean we fill McCartan, but McCartan did outscore Chapman, so I feel like that's absolutely fine. And yeah, that's how our team's looking like going into round 2 at the moment. In terms of who we captain at the moment, I'm not too sure. I haven't really looked much into it. It is still a Monday night, but I think McRae and Dunkley, they both have great history against the Blues, especially Dunkley in particular. But I think we're going to end up probably going VC on McRae. And then if not, if he doesn't perform, we can probably captain someone like Steele is an option, but I'm not sure how he goes against Fremantle. I think we'll probably have to end up going McRae VC and hope that he can score well, because I'm not too sure with Max Gawn and Grundy at the moment. So McRae is there as our VC. If, say, he does do terrible, I think we just have to stick with Jack Steele, because there aren't many captain options in our team at the moment. But that's how our team's shaping out to be. Comment down your score below. If you guys have any questions, make sure to comment down below. Leave a like, subscribe, and I'll see you guys next week.